2 strokes, 4 strokes, 2 wheels, 4 wheels. How do you know when the summer is finally here? How do you know when it's hot outside? When you're sitting in your living room watching some Nichijou and suddenly you hear what sounds like an orgy of cracked out killer bees in a roofless stable full of flatulent cows being slaughtered by a chainsaw juggler. Oh, look at that, summer is here. Because the fact that my balls are sticking to the inside of my sweat-coated leg wasn't enough of an indicator what season it was. I'm sure there's a decent portion of the audience who knows exactly what I'm talking about and probably have experienced it. No, not sticky balls. I'm talking about hearing / seeing a pack of MX bikes ripping down the street, busting wheelies, no-handers. Shit, only 2 of these got helmets on. Why are they so loud? Is that a 4-wheeler? I mentioned that some of you may have experienced this phenomenon, and I'm referencing those who live in urban areas, and more directly, those who live in the hood of said urban areas, mainly on the East Coast. Shit is really regular in the hot months. To break down the viewership even further, there's those from said areas who are bikers. They'll probably know more than likely everything I'm about to mention. But to everyone else, drivers, bikers, and drivers who've only seen this stuff maybe on the news, on the internet, then there's those who have no clue what the fuck I'm even talking about. As always, I'm here to break it down for you. We're gonna go ahead and waft away some of that blue smoke, because this is Illegal Dirt Bikers of the Ghetto Explained. To start off, the important part of this phenomenon is to consider that some dirt bikes and ATVs are considered off-road vehicles with some exceptions in certain locations. Since this is a phenomenon that's almost exclusive to the East Coast, I'll speak in terms of this region. More rural areas will allow you to run quads and dirt bikes on the shoulders of local roads, provided you do so safely and within reason. This makes sense naturally, considering extensive property of land and the lack of safety hazards that are pedestrians and other things that are on the sidewalk. There's no need to operate off-road vehicles in an urban center, so these rules don't really apply. Driving on state and federal roads is a privilege, and we have laws in place that basically keep track of every vehicle that operates on them. We also have laws in place that regulate things like safety, emissions, noise pollution, inspections. When it comes to the first 3, manufacturers have to meet these requirements from the factory when the vehicle rolls out of it. It is only then that a vehicle can be deemed for highway use, quote unquote. Highways meaning any government-owned and maintained road. The same rules do not apply if the manufacturer does not intend for a certain model to be driven on roads. When it comes to bikes, ATVs, UTVs, and dirt bikes fall into this category. I'll actually probably clarify for the uninitiated. Yes, some dirt bikes are legal for the road right out of the factory, and we call those dual sports. Self-explanatory. Dual sport meaning on and off-road. The word supermoto generally refers to the types of mods done to dirt bikes to make them even more street-oriented, like wheels and gearing changes. So what is it that makes these dirt bikes legal but the others aren't? Well, look at it. Look, it has lights. So you can actually see the idiot deer who decided to play chicken with you in the middle of the road has turn signals, so you can indicate to the brain-dead 5-hour energy crashing office slave behind you in his Toyota Camry a horn. So you can do this.
How about Zane's cars being 20 beeps?
Tail lights, brake lights, quiet exhaust, actual keyed ignition. Do I need to go on? See, manufacturers make dirt bikes for both on and off-road use, but not really 4-wheelers. When it comes to off-road bikes, we're gonna focus on MX bikes, because not only are these bikes made for off-road only, but they also are race bikes, meaning they're fast as fuck, powerful, light as fuck, nimble, and convenient. To put it into perspective, they are pretty much faster than any road-going dirt bike. They're lighter, well, they're easier to steal and harder to track down. But see, that's the thing, right? Let's be real here. A decent chunk of these bikes were stolen at some point in their lives. Not to say that the person riding it at this very moment ripped the bike off from someone, but these bikes change hands a lot, so they can easily be made to look different through fairing changes, even if they were stolen. So where does this happen? As I stated, along the East Coast, in cities like Baltimore, DC, Boston, Atlanta, Miami, and yours truly, the Big Apple. If I miss your city, I'm sorry, but these are like the fucking heavy hitters of this shit. Basically, these cities don't quite have tracks where people can legally use their bikes, and they don't really have off-road trails because the environment is so urban, obviously. People take these bikes onto the street for fun, and fun they have. The thing is that these cities have mostly ordered the police forces to adopt a no-chase policy. And the thing is, the bikers know this. So for the most part, they understand that they can do all this stuff with impunity, so long as they're not directly endangering people and are not suspected of perhaps trying to flee a more serious crime than a driving violation. You take this fact and then you add mob mentality, and then you have gangs of dozens upon dozens of bikers taking security in their numbers while ripping down the road. So who's doing this? It's a phenomenon among those who live in more hard-up areas. The logic behind it varies from person to person though, and that's where things start to get more opinionated, even political. So all you politically sensitive viewers, I'm issuing a trigger warning right here, right now. If you need to click away, please do so. Ready? Okay. So it's obvious that there's a certain degree of lawlessness in the hood. It's not total anarchy, but just look at the statistics, right? I'm from one of the worst neighborhoods in New York City. Walk to school and fuck around and peep a dead body outlined in chalk before you even get to pull out your notebook. Hell, as a kid, I would see these guys up and down my block on the dirt bikes, led by a dude who I won't name, obviously. You factor this into the lack of mutual respect between most police departments and the disenfranchised people of said locations, and you'll start to see the people develop an "I don't really care" attitude. The police begin to view everyone as a threat. They begin to move as such, and then the people reciprocate that. I understand when you're coming up rough, you gotta support yourself in less legal ways, and thus people begin to do questionable things. However, I'll even admit that there's a toxic level of a need to overcompensate for being unfortunate through showing out / projecting a level of wealth exceeding yours. Alright. I guess we could get less political, but the reason I bring this up is because some actually argue that taking part in these dirt bike rides are a productive way to keep the youth away from more violent ways to pass time. And granted, yeah, I can admit that, yes, I'd rather see some kid on a YZ250 fucking popping wheelies and showing out down the road than fucking hanging around with a gang with a gun in his hand. But the thing is, you have to honestly ask, like, are those two things actually mutually exclusive? Like, if you were to jump on a dirt bike, are you magically now unable to gangbang? I don't know about that, especially in most cases. The talents of the kids in the ghetto do not only exist in illegal activities, so I find that statement, well, it's keeping these guys away from drugs and guns and robbing, which is way worse, a bit incredulous and even self-deprecating. I use the words talents because, let's be honest, these guys are talented as fuck. You gotta give them absolute credit for how they manage to handle these bikes. I mean, just look, like, can you do this? I'll commend them on their skills any day of the week, because the stunts are just awesome, no matter how you feel about where they are, what they're doing. Having become a biker at 19, I now sometimes ride with these guys, and you can't help but want to throw up the front wheel on your bike when you just get a hold of all the fun and free energy. I've seen kids as young as 13 on big wheel dirt bikes doing pretty fucking big, and because dirt bikes are so common around here, you find them on Craigslist by the dozen, and they look so fun to stunt, even personally considered getting one myself. But then the bike gods descend down and slap me across my visor and say, no. I'm a fairly responsible biker, quote unquote, so I wear some gear, I register my bike, I plate it, inspection, all that shit. Sure, I may have ridden dirty a couple times in my life, and my SV1000 may or may not be inspected at the moment, but the plate location is kind of sketchy. But still, wait, what was my point? Look, sometimes I see these guys and they have literally zero gear on their body, and that's where I begin to have my own problems. See, that's how people get fucked up or even die just because they want to show off. This is a PSA. A Nike tech suit is not gear. A fitted cap is not gear. Remember, it's not just grown-ass men out there on these bikes, it's also children, teens. So as an adult, theoretically, when I see a kid no older than 16 weaving in and out of traffic doing clutch-ups with not even a half helmet on his head, I just have to cringe and shake my head. At least throw on a helmet. There was once a time where I saw a kid about 13 years old on a little red pit bike on Bushwick Avenue. Problem is, he was riding on the center line of a 4-lane, 2-way road with no helmet. Dude, a pit bike is the size of a fucking squirrel. I almost turned my bike around and told his ass to get on the shoulder of the road, but he proceeded to run a red light. As I looked back, I was highly upset. It's not illegal to wear a helmet, so just do it. You know the guys who'll be like, "You're giving bikers a bad name. You're giving bikers a bad name." Do they have a point? Well, to be honest, I look at these bikers carving up the roads, blowing lights, cutting people off, making a ton of noise, riding the sidewalk, etc. And I think to myself, do the car drivers and pedestrians who are uninitiated or unknowing of bikes understand the difference between that group of guys and me, the guy who's just on his way home from a boring class, who's just riding a daily commute? Like, I wonder if they understand the differences between us. I wonder if they see that those have no plates and they actually know that those bikes are illegal for the road? Or does this affect their view of all bikers who, granted, might move a little quick on the road, but are law-abiding? So are they giving bikers a bad name? Probably. But the answer depends on who you ask. You ask them, they either might not care to begin with, or they would disagree. Ask those who haven't grown up around them, they might say yes they are, because they don't have the other side of the story. Personally, I think they just represent a different sector of bike life, you know? It's like the stunt bike riders, you know? Dank wheelie. I love me some dank wheelie. I dig what they do. I respect the skills. Hell, when I see them ride by, I give them a little smirk. I don't condone endangering people, so as long as these dirt bikers keep the rubber on the road and break the law safely, that might be a little bit oxymoronic. Sometimes that's not the case though, and people on and off bikes get hurt sometimes. You also have to consider crooked cops who may give chase despite their orders of conduct, because despite how or what you ride, you're still a biker. So at the end of the day, I'd still like to see you make it home to ride again tomorrow. That was the illegal dirt bikers of the Ghetto explained. I hope you enjoyed this one. This one wasn't really a list video. It was more so in the same style, but not really a list video. It was more so me breaking down something or giving my opinion on it. One more thing I wanted to say was, you guys seem to like the 7 things video, but if you haven't watched the Art of Motovlogging video, I highly suggest you check that out. It's not, I understand that the title of it might seem a bit boring, like the subject matter, but it's in the exact same style as this and those videos. So if you enjoyed any of those, then I suggest you check that out. As far as the regular on-bike vlogs go, they're gonna resume sometime this week. The thing is, I had some bike trouble, like my bike was leaking oil, but it's all good now. So once I get back on my bike, I'll probably record something later this week. Throw that up, just a regular old vanilla vlog. I already have a topic in mind. It's gonna be a response video to a sidecap or channel I follow that follows me back. So you'll see the subject matter when I put the video out. So stay tuned for that. But as always, you just watch the illustrator. Stay ill, my friends.